Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed, plus free home delivery with any base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you weekly by Woody Overton, Jim Rathman, and executive producer Toby Tomplay.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. To an attorney prior to and during any question. You can't afford one, a court will appoint one for you. You understand your rights.
Your crime spree was over, son. Yeah, you thought you had it licked, but Hitman in Overton made you should have turned to shit. Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, will contain descriptions of acts of violence or that are of a sexual nature. It should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. Jim and I did not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts we're retelling you were presented to us by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My description of the crime scenes are what I saw with my own 2 eyes. If you're gonna get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton, flying solo again today due to COVID, etc. And I'm going to be bringing you the conclusion of false positive. Now, y'all remember I told a story about a month ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, I don't remember, called I Shot That Man. And at the end of that story, I told you that you wouldn't get it for $1 million. You couldn't figure out how this 2-part series was going to tie into that one, right? You still won't. But I'm going to tell you at the very end, it's pretty crazy. But love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope your families are doing well, and I hope you're making it, right? So just stay strong in this time, and hopefully things are starting to turn around, and we'll get back to doing what we do. Now, this is the last episode, Lifers, in season 4, and we'll be starting season 5 soon. Going to be a lot of big changes coming up, a lot of different great things happening that we're working on. So just stay tuned. All right. When I left y'all on false positive, we had already tested the bank manager, the lady who said she was kidnapped overnight, etc. She picked out a male suspect out of a photo lineup. I mean, instantly picked him out. Said she recognized him as one of the guys who kidnapped her from her home. And when they were duct taping her up and masking her up, she saw through his mask the facial features, and she knows his voice, grew up with him all through high school, knows everything about him, etc. And I mean, she ID'd him. She picked him out of a 6-pack. I mean, you can't make that shit up. So they, being the powers that were working the case, right? And that was God and everybody. It was the small town PD where it happened, the sheriff's office in the parish where it happened, Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office, the feds, state police, everybody was in on it. And powers that be scooped him up based off of the positive ID from the 6-pack. And they get him in, and they bring him to me to polygraph him, right? They question him. I watched the question, and he's like, fuck that, I ain't had anything to do with it. He was adamant. Hey, he couldn't see me where I was watching, but he was adamant. He had nothing to do with it. He was at work. I was at work. I'm telling you, I was at work. When it happened last night, bullshit. I was at work. Go check my work schedule, but they didn't do it. Then they decided to bring him to me to polygraph him. Let me tell you a little bit about it. A lot of it, y'all probably, just like on the girl, the manager, she had been up for over 24 hours, and I hounded her on the participation question based off of what the Fed said. And at the time, I was a rookie polygraph examiner. I had just graduated from the school. I had just taken my state board just a couple months before. I had taken my state board test, the written test, and passed it. And then once you do that, you have to do a year's internship under the supervision of another licensed polygraphist that's approved by the Louisiana State Polygraph Board. And you have a year to complete 25 tests. And then you have to go before the oral board, which is the polygraph board where they ask you questions. But at that time, you have to bring 5 charts to submit for review. You have to make 5 copies, one to give to each board member, and they review each one of your charts, and they score it, and you have to present your own score sheet and tell them how it comes out. So it's a real lengthy process. The shortest they would let you do it in is in 6 months. And when I started, y'all, I've supervised since then over the years at the request of the board. The board has personally asked me to supervise 3 different internships over the years. One was for the chief of police of Jennings Police Department. One was for a captain with the Baker City Police Department. And one was for a trooper who is now actually sits on that polygraph board, right? So we're talking over the course of many years. Now the reason I'm digressing is because I forgot to tell you in the last episode, I was just a couple months out. When I shot that man, I think it was like 2 months before this case. That was my first murder confession off the polygraph, right? And he repeated it exactly. And he said, Mr. Woody, I shot that man, Mr. Woody. I shot that man last night. So remember, I knew just enough really to be dangerous in the polygraph world. And going back to the bank manager and hounding her, I was hounding her on that participation question about that pressing that lock or whatever it was, right? And remember that I went back to him and I said, hey, she failed it, but I don't believe she participated. And the problem with it, y'all, is that I had hundreds of thousands of hours of interview and interrogation before I became a polygraph examiner. And 98.5% of what I do for a living is read people and the body language, et cetera. And I don't even need the polygraph, right? So, but it's a great tool. It's a great investigative tool. But again, I was kind of a rook at it. And it is what it is. So they bring this guy down to me. And I separate myself because they've been questioning, they've been hard on him, they swamp donkeyed him, drug him out of his house and all that shit, right? So he's got no love for them. I have to establish a connection. They bring him down, get him in. But the problem with this guy was he walks in the door and he's fine. And it looked just like he's pissed off, but looked just like he did when they were interviewing him upstairs. And he walked in and they introduced me as Detective Woody Overton. And I put my hand out to shake his hand. And the dude, I thought he was going to pass out. I mean, I've never seen that much color drain from a person. He started sweating, and it was cold in my little office. And he started sweating and everything. He was like, I knew something was wrong right away. So long or the short, I get him in and sit him down, and I made my introduction. I told him who I was. Told him, said, look, man, just hear, about this kidnapping last night and this bank robbery. He said, man, I done told them I ain't had shit to do with it. They can go to my work. He said, man, I work nights. And he said, there's like 100-some people out there and cameras and everything that can tell them I was at work, because they told me it happened at 7:30 at night. I go to work at 6 o'clock. I think it says 6 to 6. He's worked the night shift. And again, being a rookie examiner, one of the things they teach you, I went to the Department of Defense Polygraph Institute School, right, at Texas State Police Headquarters in Austin, and it's all hush hush. That's the only school that has the government, same one the CIA, Secret Service, all of the examiners use. But one of the things they teach you in that school is don't let a polygraph take the place of a good investigation. This is where I fucked up. Just like on the girl earlier, I want to please, plus I want to, get some notches in my belt on the polygraph. But he was real adamant, man, but he's there. And he just had slumped down in his persona. And after I explained who I was, et cetera. And look, I had to get him past Miranda forms, the Miranda rights. I had to get him past the polygraph forms. I had to get him past all this shit to get him to talk to me. And it was hard. I mean, so it wasn't easy. But I found out what level I need to connect with them on. And I got there. I tried to make him see me as little of a threat as possible. And I just told him, I said, look, dude, if you didn't do it, take the test with me. I'm going to get it right, and you'll be clear, right? But he was so adamant. He said, and I got him to sign the forms, but he said, I'm telling you, just tell him to go to my work. He said, shit, it ain't 20 minutes from here. Tell him to go to my work, And I pushed on as a rookie examiner. And again, this isn't my case, y'all. They called me in, and I started it in on the manager, right? And she happened to pick him out a 6-pack during my polygraph, et cetera. So I really didn't have a dog in this fight personally, other than the polygraph angle. But so get him in and sit him down, get him past the forms, but his demeanor is just, he is sweating buckets. He's just, I'd never really quite seen that on anybody who just wasn't totally guilty. And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me, right? And so finally it got to the point where when we went through the medical questions and all that for me to determine whether or not he was mentally and physically able to take the test, and I had to pass him. I mean, he was a healthy young man, respectful young man. And he's not a gangbanger or whatever, you know. I mean, he's just he had a full-time job. He worked like 5 nights a week, like 60 hours a week, and it wasn't a great job, I can tell you that. He was working his ass off I think it was at a chicken plant where they cut chickens all night. So at the last minute, I asked him, did he need to take a break before we got into the formulation of the questions for the test, and he wanted to take a break. So I left him alone. I went up and I talked to the powers that be. And remember, it's all these agencies that are there. And I told him, I said, listen, and I said, why don't y'all just go? This dude is adamant. He's at work last night. Adamant. He's on the security cameras. He clocked in right before 6. He stayed there. His workstation is on security cameras. He's got 100 and some people that he worked with all night. He had 3 breaks during the entirety of the night. 1 15-minute break, then his lunch break, and then another 15-minute break towards the 12-hour, end of the 12-hour shift. And didn't leave until like after 6 o'clock in the morning, right? And I said, but they said, no, let's just polygraph him. And, you know, she picked him out of the photo lineup, which she did. I get that point. But I'm thinking, by the time I was in there, you know, first of all, you could at least call his work, but it wasn't my case. You could have called his work, didn't do it. But damn sure you could have sent somebody, all the guys standing around drinking coffee, waiting on me to run this 4 or 5 hour polygraph, however long it was going to be. One of them could have rode over to this plant, which is open 24 hours a day, and checked to see if this guy was at work, right? If he's at work, shit, then there's no need for a polygraph. And even though she picked him out of the photo lineup, if he's at work and you got all those eyewitnesses, that's no bueno. It's no good. I'm going to tell you this too, and we'll get into it in some other cases in real life, real crime in the future. Eyewitness testimony is probably the most unreliable testimony there is when a person's under that kind of stress, and especially flip it back. She had been up for 48 hours or whatever it was when she, and I'm taking her back through the case of what actually happened when she was abducted from her house. I'm taking her back through it mentally frame by frame, whereas all day long she had been a suspect, right? And she'd been treated as a suspect. Eyewitness testimony, so unreliable, because most people, when they have a gun in their face, you get what you call tunnel vision, right? And I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm just saying if there's a breakdown in an area like that, especially somebody that's under that kind of stress, it does happen a lot. Y'all heard it in the other case we did on I Shot That Man. The eyewitnesses picked out the wrong person out of the crowd. That was a shooter, right? Same thing. But law enforcement has to work with what they have to work with. But I asked him, I said, man, why don't you go out there and just talk to somebody or look at the cameras from last night? No, go on and do the polygraph. We already got his ass. We got him on the eyewitness things. Not my case. Fine with me. All right. So go back in, and I sit down and I told him, I said, look, we got to make up the relevant questions for this examination, and relevant meaning the most important, right? And so the relevant questions would be, let me back up. I didn't have to ask him about the bank robbery, right? He was being charged with the aggravated kidnapping and by breaking into her home, taking her at gunpoint, duct taping her up. He's the one that she eyewitnessed. So that's what I'm asking about. So on a polygraph examination, whenever you can, you don't want to use emotion-evoking words. Like instead of saying, did you kill that man last night, you say, did you shoot that man? It's a little bit different, but it still takes a little bit of the emotion out. On this case, I asked him, I said, dude, tell me what happened. He said, I told you. I was at work. I don't know what the hell happened. I said, well, let me tell you what they said happened. And I explained to him, I said that she got out of her car at her house on Highway 43 in Albany. He said, yeah. He said, I know her. He said, I went to high school. I've known her my entire life. I know where she lives and everything. I know her family and all of it. And I said, well, she said she got out, and when she went to open the door, that 3 people bum rushed her from behind, pushed her into her house, put a gun on her, started duct taping her up, etc. And then I said, dude, she picked you out of a photo lineup. She said she saw your facial features, and she said she heard your voice. And I said, I mean, you kind of got to understand where these cats are coming from, that they go and pull you on that, right? I mean, it's way beyond probable cause. And he was like, I understand mistakes happen. He said, but I'm telling you, I didn't do it. I was at work. Go pull my shit, man. I'm begging you, just please go pull my shit. I said, dude, I asked him. And he said, I really did. But they want you to take the polygraph. And he was like, so anyway, back to the question. I said, look, I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm not going to ask you, did you kidnap her or whatever? I said, when is the last time you saw her? He said, the last time I saw that girl is when we graduated high school, dude. It's been years. I said, okay. So it's easy for me to ask you on the polygraph, did you see her yesterday? He was like, yeah, I can answer that. No, I didn't see her. I was at work. I said, well, yeah, it's going to be a yes or no question. Did you see her yesterday? Her being the victim. Yeah, of course I used her name. And he said, no. I said, good. I said, did you enter her home yesterday evening? He was like, no, I was at work at that time. I said, did you enter her home yesterday evening? He said, no. And I said, did you enter her home around 7:30 or after 7 o'clock p.m.? And he's like, at 7 o'clock p.m., I was on the line doing my job. And so got him through the stuff, right? And we'll review the questions in depth, etc. Then I gave him the long explanation of how the polygraph works and all that good stuff. And then I attach him to the instrument. I run my practice or acquaintance test in which I have him lie to me on 1 out of 8 questions. I don't know which question it is he's going to lie about. At the end of the test, he's strapped up on this big chair, y'all. The polygraph chair has these long metal arms that are wide where you can put your whole arms on it. And they sit about chest high. And it separates your arms from your chest or out a little bit. And so when I say I attach them to the instrument, I strap them to the instrument, that means you have 2 tubes that go across one goes across your upper chest and one goes across your abdomen, okay? And they kind of measure breathing, but not directly breathing. It measures any difference in the muscle movement in your intercostal and your abdominal muscles. The second thing, while you have the arms up on the chair like that, is he had 2 finger plates on. And back then they used to call it galvanic skin response. Now they call it electrodermal activity. It's skin sweat. That's all it is. Fancy new words for it, science, whatever. So that's on one hand, right? And on the other hand is the blood pressure cuff, not the hand, the other upper arm is the blood pressure cuff. And that is measuring any different amount of blood flow into that artery. It changes under stress. And basically, when I'm looking at my computer screen, or you see the old-timey polygraph machines on TV where the needles jump up and down, each one of those needles you see, it records one of those areas I just told you about, right? But I have the same thing on the computer screen. It's actually more sensitive than what we used to call the old ink slinger instruments. But the top 2 lines or for the tubes on the chest, you can call it breathing, whatever. So, and it makes like little mountains, right? Okay. The second line, and they're in blue. The second line is that galvanic skin response, or the EDA, they call it now, and it's measured on your screen as a green line. All right, and then this is how I set mine up. And on the bottom is where the blood pressure cuff is monitoring the blood flow into the brachial artery. You see that. You can actually see each heartbeat of the person. It's measured in little lines. Every time your heart beats, you have it, right? So back to the blue lines, the pneumos is what they're called, the one across your upper chest and your abdomen. That everybody relates it back to breathing is each little mark is a breath. It's an inhale and an exhale. And remember this, an average person takes between 12 to 16 breaths per minute, all right? Reason I'm telling you all this, not to make you polygraph experts, because you're about to hear this shit go down. So I made up the rest of the questions, like I said, for the test. And then the first one's like, are you now sitting down? Yes. Why did I ask him that? Because I know he can't lie to me about it, right? It's a known truth. Second question, regarding if you saw that girl, whatever the victim's name is, regarding if you saw her last night, do you intend to answer each question truthfully? He answers yes, right? That's called a sacrifice relevant. And that is the first question in the test. It's not scored.
Hey, y'all. You want to set your child up for success? Is your child struggling with a specific subject or need help with the subject? Is your child ahead, not getting challenged enough in class? Well, IXL Learning is an online learning program that enriches your homeschool curriculum. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies while adapting to each child, meeting them where they are. Plus, IXL encourages students to become curious and empowers them to choose how to learn. Look, we homeschool our son. No doubt about it. He's more of a visual learner, and we use IXL, and Cindy teaches him, and there are so many different benefits to the program. It adapts to exactly what he needs in different areas. So IXL is the perfect supplement to your homeschool curriculum. IXL offers interactive practice problems, educational games, lessons, and video tutorials for every topic you're teaching at home. It's easy to use, time-saving. Everything on IXL is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, making it simple to find activities for the exact skills you're covering. IXL offers instant feedback and explanations of new topics as kids use the program. Kids can explore any topic in any grade level. They aren't forced into a single learning path like they are on other programs. If you're homeschooling your child because they were falling behind or because they were too far ahead like our son, IXL is a great program to help them get the exact support they need. Kids love IXL's positive feedback awards and educational games. IXL is trusted by 15 million students worldwide and has proven to improve performance in over 75 scientific research studies. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And Real Life, Real Crime listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. And don't forget, Real Life, Real Crime listeners get 20% off. Y'all, we really do use this product, and it's been a godsend. Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
It's the first question in the test, so he hears her name already, and whether he did it or didn't do it, but he knows he's being tested about her. It helps take off the edge for the relevant questions when they come later on. So I asked him the question, did you see her last night? No. And, again, I give them real strict instructions on how to sit and answer. It's yes or no, don't move, the whole 9 yards. So then I asked my first comparison question. Then I asked the question, did you see her yesterday? No. Boom. I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm watching my shit. I tell them that I don't score it as it's going along, okay? But I'm watching my screen, trying to keep my poker face. He's sitting to my right, facing back towards me, but almost, he can't see the computer screen, but he could see out of the corner eye if he was watching, he could see my reaction. So I'd have to sit there with no reaction. I shit you not. So on the blue ones, the one on your chest and the one on your stomach, the less you breathe, or the less those, when you ask the question and they respond, the smaller those get, the worse it is for you, deception indicated. His flat line, and then and on the charts, it's measured in 5-second intervals, right? So I'm watching it. It looked like he died. If you ever see it on a movie when they had the beep, beep, and it goes beep, and his shit went flat. The next one, the green one, now before the test starts, when I do that practice test, what I'm really doing is balancing out the nerves and tuning their physiology into the instrument, because everybody's different. Like some people have more skin sweat than others, and some people breathe different. Whatever, it could depend on your body size, etc. The green one, you set it at your baseline where it's kind of like as smooth as can be, right? But when you ask a question on the practice test, you can see, or you tell them to take a deep breath, and you'll have a little bit of a response there. That sumbitch went off my computer screen. It went bam. I was like, holy shit, right? And then the heart that you could see through the arm, through the brachial artery, it went from being flat on the page, but look into the heart piece. One, boom, 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 boom. I asked him the question and went boom, 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 boom. I mean, it took off, went off my freaking computer screen. It looked like he hit the meth pipe while he's sitting in my chair. I'm like, holy shit! And here I am. I mean, I'm not a total rookie examiner, but I got a couple months in, but I'm like, holy shit! And I've never heard of this in polygraph school or in all the other tests that I've done or anything. And I'm like, I'm freaking out because I don't know what to do, first of all. And so I'm trying to bring it back to what I guess people call it a baseline. I'm trying to bring it back down before I ask the next question. Because when you ask the question, they respond, and it's 25 seconds, and your next question kicks up. You have to ask it. You don't have to, but you can make it go longer. But your next question kicks up. And shit, my stuff's all off the screen. His heart's off the screen. His skin sweat's off the screen. And the breathing quit. He quit. And it took me like 15 seconds. I look over and say, hey. I said, hey, man, you got to relax. I said, you got to breathe. I mean, shit, he wasn't breathing. And I said, you're going to pass out. And look, he was sweating. And on that metal chair where they had the hands up for the galvanic skin response, I could see pools of sweat coming, literally developed on the metal chair underneath his hand. I'm like, holy shit, man. And I mean, it was the larger, okay, let me digress. The more response you have from the heart, naturally, the worse for you it is. The larger you have from the skin sweat, the worse it is. And this is the worst I've ever seen. So it looks, and the more suppression in the blues, and he flatlined, he wasn't breathing at all. And couldn't be any worse for him, deception indicator wise. But I had to stop the test. Just fucked me up, and I'm looking at him, and he starts to breathe again and doing all this. And I'm like, oh shit, man. And I said, look, man, you got to relax. And I stopped the test. So you got to relax. Look, I'm not here to hurt you. We just got to get you through this, et cetera. And, why don't you just take a minute and chill and breathe and just relax for a minute, and I'm going to be back. But fuck, I didn't want him passing out in my chair and stuff, and I'd never seen it before. So I actually left, and this is like in the middle of the night now. I left the room, and I went and called one of the best polygraph examiners in the world. His name is Mark Handler. He teaches all the federal schools. He's a super cool cat. He lived in Kentucky at the time. His wife's a brain surgeon. Middle of the night, but we were tight. And we made that connection in school. And then it just so happened that the American Polygraph Association convention was in August that year. So right after I passed my boards and everything, all those guys, the top dogs, came to New Orleans and we threw down, right? So we're partners. And he told me anytime, day or night, whatever you call me. So I called him, I said, Handler. I said, listen, man, I hit this dude's shit and it went off the screen. He said, well, you got a deception indicated. I said, I don't know. And I said, what I do? He said, turn all your settings, your sensitivities all the way down on the galvanic skin response and on the heart rate one. He said, you got to run it. You got to ask the questions. And he said, you got to believe in your charts. That's one thing they taught us in school. You have to believe in your charts. And anyway, so he talked me off the ledge. I go back in, like shit, never let him see you sweat. And I'm all cool and calm, collect. I said, hey man, you chill, you ready to do it again? He's just defeated, man. He's kind of slumped down, sitting in his chair. And I'm just like, you mean get you some water or something, dude? And he's like, no, man, let's just do this shit. Let's do this. He said, did they go to my work? And see that I had left? I said, I didn't go up there and talk to them. I said, I went and took a little break, And he said, let's just do this. Sit down, do it again. Make it do what it do. They said, test is about to begin. Please remain still. We're good, right? He's got all normal shit. First question. Are you now sitting down? Yes. All good stuff. Next question. Regarding whatever her name is, victim's name is, do you intend to answer these questions truthfully? And you always get a little response there. That's sacrifice relevant, I told you about, right? But that's not score. We're good. First comparison question, he's got some response, but you're supposed to on that one. But then I asked in that first relevant, did you see her yesterday? Boom. I had turned it all the way down, y'all, and the stuff is still going as high as it can. I'm like, holy shit. The green line goes off the page, boom, like a rocket shot out somebody's ass, right? It just disappears. The heart goes up like he's smoking crack in my office. And he just hit a meth pipe with a crack pipe. And I'm like, fuck, man, here we go. And he quit breathing again. And I told him, I said, you have got to breathe. And then he started recovering. So I just pushed through with it, right? Next question, relevant question. Did you see her last night? No. Boom. Green's gone again. Heart's gone again. Now, again, this is 25 seconds later. And after it went off the first question, I brought him back down to a baseline and asked the question again. So it's an explosion. Worst you could do. I don't think that you could put a numeric property or a score on how bad this dude's test was. Yes, his sugar had turned to shit. Unbelievably, right? Or maybe it was mine. But you're going to find out. So anyway, he blows it up. I asked the third relevant question. He blows it up. And I'm like, fuck. In the end, and so I said, the test is now complete. Please remain still. 10 seconds. I wait. Stop the test. Now remember, under Louisiana law, for it to be valid, we have to do it at least 2 separate times, right? Well, in this one, I'm running this bitch as many times as I can because I want proof that this actually happened. All right. I never heard about it, never seen. I've seen some great responses, but not like this. Let's get into the second test. Now, normally, if a person is deception indicated they're lying, as the test goes along, their score will actually get worse. They will, the test begins to break them down mentally. They know whatever they're trying to do to make themselves pass or whatever, it's not working, etc. I don't tell them anything. I just, I'm not scoring it. Don't ask me anything. We're going to rest your arm for a minute. We do it again. Second test, worse. Now I had turned my sensitivities all the way down, and every time I asked them a relevant question, did you see her yesterday? Boom, green's gone. Heart rate. I don't know how else to equate. I don't know how you could make your heart jump that fast without somebody putting a gun in your face or doing some kind of dope, right? And he would stop breathing, and I'd have to tell him, I said, you need to breathe and relax. So anyway, Did it again. Take a break, right? It's horrible, the worst I've ever seen in as far as deception indicated. I'm like, he had to be there. If you have to believe your charts, right? The polygraph and all this studying I'd done and everything, and all this hell I'd gone through to get this license, had to be there. This is better than textbook. And wait, I did it a third time. Same shit. Every time I asked him the relevant questions, he smoked it. And look, his physical body and deterioration. I mean, by this time, he is slumped down in that chair. It looked like he'd been stabbed or shot. He's slumped down in the chair. His arms are hanging up. I had to tell him several times to pick your head up. I mean, he was just sweating, but he is drenched. And I let him drink some water in between tests. He's drenched. It looks like he's morally and mentally defeated. I can't figure out why unless he's guilty as shit, right? And then I did it however many times, y'all, and it is to this date, and this has been 16 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of polygraph tests I've run. I quit counting it over 3,000, I think, years and years ago. All my years as a polygraph examiner, I have never seen someone fail a test as bad as this cat failed it, okay? And so we get done, unattach him from the instrument, and I go out, tell him, give me a minute, but I got to come back in for what's the interrogation part, basically, right? We got done, and I always ask him, I said, how do you think you did? And he said, and I don't know. And I'm like, oh shit, we might have something here. Maybe he's lying about work. His boss man's going to cover for him or something. I didn't know. But so I let him be for a minute. I went upstairs and all the powers that be were standing around. I said, did y'all go send somebody or talk to somebody at his job yet? No. Waiting on the test. We already got a warrant for him based off of her six-pack. He said, how'd he do? I said, shit, it's how he didn't do. I said, I'm surprised the dude's living. And I said, you wouldn't believe, if you knew about polygraph and I could explain it to you, you wouldn't believe how bad he did. I said, it is the absolute worst case of failure that probably in the history of the world. No bullshit, right? And in fact, y'all, it was so bad when I got done with this, and I'll tell you about the conclusion of it. I got done with this. I actually sent it to the Department of Defense Polygraph School to the examiners and stuff, and they use it as a case file study now. So anyway, they hadn't called to check. And again, they teach you, the government teaches you, don't let a polygraph examination take over an investigation. The whole polygraph could have been avoided. If he was telling the truth, polygraph could have been avoided by riding your ass out to his work and verifying he's there or not. Detective work does. But now I was like the first polygraph examiner in the area, right? So everybody was using me up, and the parish where the bank robbery happened, they didn't have an examiner. The nearest examiner was in Baton Rouge, but he was private, or actually Denham Springs, but he was the chief at the time, and he didn't. Anyway, they were using me, okay? So, but I learned after this one, especially the bank manager being up for the 48 hours and them not producing a document saying about the extended time log, and this guy, all they had to do was go check his work records. So anyway, I go down, go back in the room, and I sit down, I pull my chair close, and I say, hey man, I said, look at me. I mean, he's just slumped over. He's defeated. He's looked like he had his ass whooped like a redheaded stepchild. I mean, he's beat the fuck down. I said, hey, man, look at me. I'm touching him on his knees, and I'm trying to make that eye contact, right? Now, confession is what I do, and I was doing it a long time before I was a polygraph examiner and known for them, right? And so I'm trying to work my shit on him, and this dude's almost crying. He's looking at me, he said, Mr. Woody Overton. And that's one thing that struck me is he knew my name, or I mean, we'd only been introduced when he came in the door the one time, but he, throughout the polygraph, kept saying Mr. Woody Overton. And that kind of, threw him, but I didn't think much at the time. And he just looked at me, slumped down in the chair, and he said, Mr. Woody, I'm telling you, man, I was at work. Why won't you please get them to go pull my shit, man? And I said, well, listen, you failed the polygraph. I said, not only did you fail it, you might have set a world fucking record on how bad you failed it. He starts shaking his head, and he starts tearing up. I said, can you tell me what you were thinking about when I asked you the questions about her? I mean, tell me exactly what went through your mind. I said, shit, I really need to know. And I said, for my professional development, tell me when I asked you, did you see her last night? What popped into your head? He said, man, what popped into your head? He said, man, I'm done with this shit. He said, I just need to go pull my work records. I'm done with this shit. And I worked him, y'all. But he kept calling my name. He said, Mr. Woody, I'm telling you, just tell him just tell him to go pull my shit. I said, look, it ain't gonna be that easy. They fix to take your ass to jail. And then he's really got upset. I said, listen, it's not my jam, you know. And to be honest with y'all, I know what my chart said, that he failed like the worst in the history of the world. Dude was too adamant to me about where he was, and he's, you know, and please go pull it, please go pull it. Now look, he was cooperating because he's figuring maybe he's going to pass the polygraph, I guess, and be done with it or whatever. But they're taking his ass to jail. I mean, they're closing the case out, and it winded up, and I just finally told him, I said, look, man, you know, I gotta rock this test, as deception indicated, man. On those 3 relevant questions, you definitely you bombed the shit out of them. I mean, I said, but it's nothing personal between you and I. You know, I said, again, I don't work for those cats up there. I gave you a fair and honest test, and I'm not going to sit here all night and try to beat you out of a confession, right? He said, well, I ain't confessing the shit because I was at work. Now, is what it is. Certain point, even I know when to give up on it. Now, really good homicide, interrogation, et cetera, when the people have that much at stake, I always say it doesn't even begin until after like 5 hours of questioning, right? After beating up on them, as long as they don't lawyer up. And on this one, this cat wasn't moving. And I went at him for however long. It was a long time. And then finally, I'm like, shit, you know what? It's December the 28th. And I always took off the weeks between Christmas and right after the first of the year for deer hunting season, because that's when the deer rut where I hunt, right? I wasn't even supposed to be in this bitch. And now I've been out there like a day nonstop, however many hours, working with the manager, now working with this cat and all that. And I just had enough. And I went up top and I said, listen, did y'all go? It's been another couple hours. Did y'all go pull his work records? Nope. What you got? I said, well, fuck, I told you what I got. He failed it. I said, I don't have a confession. He ain't admitting to anything. You know, and they said, well, there it is. There you have it. I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. I said, I honestly don't. I said, it's, you know, the polygraph says he failed it. I guess I got to believe in my charts. That's what I've been taught. And I'm rocking up out of here. Boom. See ya. And so I let them do what they do. And I split. And I left. I left the state. I went hunting up in Mississippi. And I like to turn my shit off, right? When I go hunting and you know, we drink a lot of beer and sit around a campfire, et cetera, maybe tell old cop stories or whatever. But I wasn't trying to think about this bullshit case. It wasn't even mine. None of this bullshit. I mean, it's not bullshit for the victim, but it wasn't even mine. And let me tell you what happened. I came back, and it was like almost 2 weeks later, maybe 10 days later. I don't know. One of my first days back, but I'd been off for a while, right? I didn't keep it up. It wasn't my case. I hadn't got called out or anything else. Whatever I had scheduled that time off, and they knew I took it off every year. First day back, I see one of the detectives who worked the case. I said, "Hey man, what happened with that dude?" And he said, "That dude didn't do it." I said, "What you mean he didn't do it?" He said, "We ended up going to his work, and he was on camera all night on the line, working just like he said he was. They had the cameras in the break room. We interviewed all the people, and he didn't do it." And so that, y'all, in the polygraph world is called a false positive, meaning that I scored the test, false positive. Now I'm like, There ain't no fucking way. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have time to mess with it. I had a bunch of backlog stuff. But let me tell you what happened on the bank stuff, and then I'll tie it up. I'll tie it all up for y'all. And then this will probably be one of the only times you hear me read this, because I'm going to read you the actual newspaper article from back in the day. This is crazy. So what happened was I guess I'll kind of paraphrase it for you. The investigation, you know what? I'm going to throw it all out there. I'm going to throw everything but the victim's name, right? The investigation, they got this cat and they took him and did what they did with him. But the investigation, they got a tip that it was a teller who used to work there previously at this bank. And just a couple months before, she got caught stealing $3,000 cash. They called her, bring her in, and when confronted, she admits to stealing the money, and she gave it back, and she was fired. That's it, right? So the investigation, as I say, the Screets talk, SCREETS, and especially, and y'all, I don't know what the exact amount of money that they got out of the vault was. I know it was a fucking shit ton, because the way the feds respond and everything else, and they never did disclose how much it was, and it wasn't my case, or otherwise I would have known. I didn't really care. But evidently they got out there on the streets and were blowing money at whatever, and somebody ratted them out. So they started looking at this chick, this female, and that used to work at the bank off a tip, and the investigation, they rolled with it, right? And not only did they find out it was that female, that teller, they found out it was her family members that were involved with her, and guess who was involved with her? My guy that I failed on the polygraph. Let me read this to you. And then I'm going to tell you how long they got, because I think how long they got is just personally an offense. Read you the actual story. All right. I'm not sure which paper this is. It might have been the Livingston Parish News or whatever. I don't have that. So I'm giving whoever wrote this, I'm giving you credit. Ponchatoula. Now, Ponchatoula, y'all have heard me talk about it before. It's across the river in Tangipahoa Parish. Ponchatoula.
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Mochi. Mochi is a telehealth platform that connects patients seeking medication-based weight loss treatment with board-certified doctors and dietitians to help them determine the best treatment options to accomplish that goal. Mochi's program is completely virtual, meaning you can access their services anywhere in the United States, and you will be meeting with their team online. You deserve doctors that listen. Mochi is dedicated to providing holistic, patient-centered care that prioritizes overall well-being with the goal of transforming how weight management is approached. Mochi Health takes a holistic approach to weight loss that includes visit with board-certified doctors, nutrition consultations, and medications delivered to your door. Science-backed medications including GLP-1s like Ozempic and generic compound versions, affordable and accessible regardless of insurance coverage. With Mochi, their dietitians work hand in hand with your medication to create personalized nutrition plans that fit your lifestyle. Reach your weight loss goals with science-backed, FDA-approved GLP-1 medications and support from real doctors and guidance from registered dietitians, and help with making easy and sustainable changes to achieve results. Y'all have seen this. My wife has done it. My brother-in-law has done it. One of my best friends is doing it, and it really is an amazing process that works. So get started at joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off. That's joinmochi.com and use code RLRC to receive $40 off and let Mochi help change your life. Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference God will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
4 people have been arrested for the December 26th kidnapping of a Livingston Parish woman, according to Ponchatoula Police Chief David Vitter. Y'all, David Vitter was a good dude. He's dead now. He died not long after this. I think like the next year. Article continues. The kidnapping, part of a larger scheme to rob a Ponchatoula bank, was allegedly planned and executed by a former Central Progressive Bank employee, Kashida Wicker Williams, 24 years old, of 64422 Wicker Lane in Roseland, Tangipahoa Parish, Vitter said. Now, Roseland, y'all, remember the girl, the victim said they took her a long, long ways and down a gravel road. Roseland is like, Tangipahoa Parish is the longest north-south geographic parish in the whole state of Louisiana, and Roseland is damn near the top. So it's way up there. It's probably 35, 40 minutes from Ponchatoula. Ponchatoula is at the southernmost end of that parish. All right, back to the article. Kashida Williams allegedly enlisted the help of her brother and 2 cousins to carry out the kidnapping of the bank's vault teller and to rob the bank, Vitter said. Williams was fired from the Central Progressive Bank after being accused of stealing approximately $3,000 earlier in the year, Vitter said. She returned the money and wasn't prosecuted, Vitter said. Kashida Williams and the vault teller who was kidnapped worked at the Central Progressive Bank at the same time. The vault teller, identified only as a white female, told police she was abducted at gunpoint around 7:30 p.m. and as she got out of her car at her home on LA 43 between Albany and Springfield, Vitter said. The vault teller told police she was driven to another location and held hostage in a house until dawn Wednesday, December 27th, when the kidnappers drove her to the Central Progressive Bank at 200 West Hickory Street in Ponchatoula, Vitter said. The kidnappers threatened to harm the teller's family if she refused to use her electronic passcodes and key to enter the bank and the vault without setting off the alarms, Vitter said. 3 masked burglars entered the bank early on the morning of December 27th, and police believe a 4th man stayed outside in the getaway car, Vitter said. The vault teller told police she was released after the robbery not far from the bank at Ponchatoula's Memorial Park and by 8 a.m. had found a phone where she called 911, Vitter said. Ponchatoula police, the FBI, and the sheriff detectives from Livingston and Tangipahoa parishes worked long hours searching for the house where the vault teller was held overnight, and the work paid off, Vitter said. It required a lot of legwork and interagency cooperation, Vitter said. Last Friday, Kashida Wicker Williams was arrested along with her brother, Daryl Wicker, 20 years old, and her cousin, Leonard Wicker, 18. All 3 of them lived at the same address in Roseland. On Monday, another cousin, Tyree Wicker, 17 years old, of whatever road in Vernontown Road in Roseland was arrested. Tyree Wicker is believed to be the man who sat outside in a car during the robbery, Vitter said. The suspects have been charged with aggravated burglary, aggravated kidnapping, and carjacking, according to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. One of the suspects has given a confession, Vitter said. Police are not yet ready to discuss the amount of money stolen from the bank or measures being taken to recover it. The kidnappers also destroyed the vault teller's white 1909 Toyota, Vitter said. It was found burned out at Mount Hermon by the Washington Parish Sheriff's Office. If they are convicted, they will be spending the rest of their lives in prison, Vitter said. The investigation got off on the wrong foot initially when the vault teller mistakenly identified 22-year-old, I'm going to say his name, 22-year-old Hammond resident Michael Winder, W-I-N-D-E-R, as one of the men who duct taped her, Vitter said. Winder was picked up, and the bank teller picked him out of a lineup. Vitter said, well, that's not the order it happened in. But anyway, however, detectives soon verified Winder's alibi. Records show Winder had clocked in at his job in the vicinity of Hammond Airport at the time of the crime, and he was released, Vitter said. Well, they don't tell you about all the bullshit that I just told you about, and they could have done that first. Now, I'm flip to the next article. They basically what it says, y'all, they got found guilty. All four of them, they pled. They didn't take it to trial. They pled to this. They each received 10 years on a burglary charge and 5 years on a simple kidnapping charge. So that would be 15 years total, y'all. But guess what? Those sentences were to run concurrent, not consecutive. And now when they run concurrent, that means that whatever the longest one you're in for, like the burglary charge, they got 10 years. It was Judge Zoe Wagasback that they gave it to him. But it's not really up to her. The DA pled it out for whatever reason, and that's cool. But here's my issue with it. You're giving them 15 years on paper, 10 years for one charge, 5 years for the other. But guess what? That 5-year charge is you're serving at the same time you're serving the 10-year charge concurrently, which means when your 10 years is up, you walk, period. Now, let's take it up a notch. The state of Louisiana has good time. For every day they served and they were good little inmates, they get a day off or 2 days off, whatever it may be. So they would have been out. They would have been out of prison in 5 years from 2000. Shit, they'd have been out of prison in 2011, y'all. They're probably old people now, like me, sitting in a rocking chair chilling. But that's it. And now it is what it is. You heard the real truth of the story, and how they presented the interagency cooperation and the hurriedly finding out Winder's alibi and all that. It is what it is. Now before I tie it up, I'm gonna say one more thing. I told you that to get your polygraph license, after you serve your internship, I was supervised by Greg LeBlanc of the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. Great guy, long since been retired. And Greg, if you're out there, peace, love you, brother. You had to have 25 tests in a year to go before the board. But the earliest you go is 6 months. At the 6 month mark, I had like 200 tests. Now they have people that can't get their 25 tests in a year, and I already had 200 in over a half year. Back it up. I hand cherry picked my 5 tests to take to the board, right? These are the guys and girls that have been doing it the longest, and Richie Johnson, may he rest in peace, one of my dear friends who was president of the polygraph board. He was colonel for West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, took me under his wing the years after, great guy. And the rest of them, and most of them are deceased now that were on that board at that time, except for one guy, and he's, to this day, he'll always have my mad respect, Mr. Zulke. But so I go in for my oral board. I passed, the question part, and they said, let's see your charts and let's score them. So I gave them to them, and I put that chart in there, y'all, the false positive, but I didn't tell them what my score was. And every single one of them said, oh my God, look at this. This is crazy. I've never seen a chart like this that was this bad. They all scored it the highest negative score you can get. And guess what? All of them were wrong, I'll say. again, the polygraph is not foolproof. It's not infallible. It's a hell of an investigative tool for breaking people down, et cetera. But the best in the state of Louisiana at the time that had been doing it, all of them 20 plus years, scored the same way I scored it, said that Mr. Winder was absolutely deception indicated when we know he wasn't. Lesson learned, I never from that day forward let somebody run me. If they brought me to polygraph an investigation like this, and I'm like, first of all, the FBI, I want to see where she'd impressed this time log. Show it to me. If you don't have proof, I'm not asking the question, okay? As far as an investigation tool, when they say, oh, we want you to run this guy, and I'm like, I get in there, and it could be so easily verified by going and checking one damn thing, and I wouldn't do it. I would refuse. But as a young rook examiner, I kind of felt forced into it. Plus, shit, I wanted to do it. I wanted to help, I wanted to do the test. But that was the false positive. Now, this is where we tie it back into I shot that man. So I come back, and y'all, I was in court almost every day. Not just for trials, but they would arraign people every day on their new charges, and then you have motion to suppress hearings, and every search warrant I've ever written and every confession I've ever gotten, they've all been challenged, right? And why? Because it's a freebie for the defense to find out what you have in a probable cause hearing or a motion to suppress hearing, whatever. So I was in the court every morning, no matter what. And then every afternoon, the morning, the people that made bail, they would come in for their hearings. And then the evening, the people that are still locked up, the real good bad guys, I like to call, that didn't get bonds and shit, they would always come in. And they would bring them in at 1 o'clock, all the inmates cuffed. And they march them in. They're all chained together, and they sit them on the front row of the courthouse. I would sit in the jury box. There's no jury. I'm in there for however many subpoenas I have, and how many times I have to take the stand that day to defend my shit, which I never lost any of them. But anyway, when I'm sitting there, and the thing, they bring them in, I'm looking over the row of inmates, and I see several of mine, of course, but then I see Darian Armstrong from I Shot That Man, right? Didn't know who he was. Had the wrong person or people under arrest in that case. Did the polygraph on him. Absolutely had no idea he was involved until the confidential informant came forward. Great kid, never been in any trouble, etc. And I get him in, run the polygraph on him, and I get him to confess to I shot that man. I see him in the row. I didn't have, they must have had like a status conference or something on his case that day, because I didn't have a subpoena for him. But he saw me, he started waving his hands in the chains. Now he's chained to other inmates. He's waving at me like that. And then so I go over to him. This is before the judge comes in. He said, Mr. Woody, I need to talk to you. I need to tell you something. I need to tell you. I said, all right. And I got the bailiff to come over and uncuff him. I took him out in the hallway. He said, you are not going to believe this. I said, what? He said, you remember Michael Winder that you ran a polygraph on, and they hooked him up for that kidnapping and the bank robbery? I said, yeah, I remember, man. I said, I'll never forget that case, because he failed the polygraph as worst as you can ever see. He said, you want to know why he failed? I said, why? He said, I'm going to tell you. Now, even though I got this guy under arrest for murder, I was cool with him. I treated everybody with respect. And by the time I took him to jail and booked him in, he was thanking me, right? Remember, I got him to open up and confess to me. So we're cool. He doesn't have any animosity towards me or whatever. He said, Mr. Woody, Michael Winder is my brother. Darian Armstrong, Michael Winder. I was like, what? He said, yeah, man. He said, we got different mamas, but the same daddy. Or it might have been flipped over, whatever. He said, but here's the deal. He said he never had any lick of trouble, but he came to visit me. He would come on weekends to visit me in the jail, and he'd put some money in my account. We'd hang out or whatever, and he felt bad that I was in prison, and I told him my story. He said, I told him that Woody Overton got me to confess. And he said, man, I can't believe you told that dude. He said, man, you don't ever want to be in front of Detective Woody Overton. He said, I believe he could get the Pope to confess to all his dirty sins. He said, I don't know what that man did. He said, he was a cool cat. And he said, but you're right. If I'd have said no, they'd have never had anything. He said, now I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. He said, you don't ever want to be in front of that man. I'm telling you. So guess what happened, y'all? It wasn't, however, a month or so later, and probably less than that. He said it was on one of his visitations that Winder gets swamp donkeyed at his house by the police. They drag him in, question him, just telling him they had this eyewitness lineup, etc. And he's still cool with it because I was watching it. He was cool with it. And he walks down, and they bring him in my office, and they say, this is Detective Woody Overton. And that's when his eyes went, and he started to sweating because what's in his mind? Oh, my God, this is the office where this dude broke my brother down, and my brother told me don't ever get in front of this cat because he's going to get you to say the nastiest shit you ever did, et cetera. And so that's what happened. And he told me, he said, I talked to him after the test. He said, Mr. Woody, he said he was sick to his stomach sitting in the same chair thinking that's where I confessed to the murder at, that's sending me away for the rest of my life. And that's all he could think about. And he said, when you asked him the questions about kidnapping that girl, all he could think about is you were going to get him to give a false confession, maybe, because I told him you were that good. And I was like, shit, man, I don't ever want to send somebody to prison wrong, right? And I said, I admit that I got the test wrong, and I'm glad for him. I said, next time you see him, tell him peace and love and respect, and I'm sorry that I put him through it, but, you know, it won't happen again, right? So those investigators ruined it for the next one who wants to use the polygraph in place of interrogation. But that's how I tied back. Darian Armstrong from I Shot That Man, the murderer. Michael from False Positive. Worse, to this day, that case is still used, taught in polygraph school. Those charts, how perfect they were and how bad he felt it. That's it. So there you have it. There's a connection. And hey, Mike Winder, if you listen to this, dude, I'm sorry you got hooked, bro. But it wasn't just me. The girl picked you out, right? And that's why it goes back to y'all. I tell you about eyewitness testimony can be so horrible at times. That's going to conclude part 2 of False Positive, and it's also going to conclude this season of Real Life, Real Crime. And I love and appreciate each and every one of you. You rock. Patreon members, y'all, this second week in a row. This time I'm doing it from my iPad. I don't have a professional production company. The Patreon members got to watch it live. So y'all, that's the first. I mean, even last week you didn't get to watch it live. That was the production company did it. I had to send it in to get it uploaded. So y'all got to see. I don't know if I did anything inappropriate or whatever, but I hope y'all enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching. We're going to try to do this every week for Patreon members. Look, lifers, I love all of you. You can't be a Patreon member, especially in these hard times. I get it. I want you to know that your money's been well spent, and it really does help the show. And y'all, if you get a chance, this is that podcast shit I got to say. Please go to iTunes and leave us a review if you haven't. I know it's a pain in the ass. I know they're way down on the list of platforms that people listen to us, but there's a reason for it. I don't know what it is, but if you can, just take a second to leave it. A lot of people do, and a lot of people take time to leave us 1 stars, and some of them are really comical. I don't care. A review's a review. So, and Facebook crew page, KREWE, Real Life, Real Crime, Friends, Fans, and Crew, that private page, y'all. There's a reason I'm pushing this. We're fixing to burn some ass on Courtney Coco's case as soon as Louisiana opens up. I have a plan in my head. I haven't got with her mama and her family about it yet, but I have a plan to move that case forward. But we've got to have those numbers up. Now, granted, we're huge at pushing probably 19,000 members, but those numbers matter when it comes to the media. So if you can, if you're not a member, send our Dream Team moderators. They rock, y'all. Best people in the world. And from all over the world, Canada, a couple from Australia, all over the United States of America. And these people, the Dream Team moderators do this They're not getting paid anything. They do it because they love real life, real crime, and they're the best. They monitor that huge ass group. I mean, I can't thank y'all enough, Dream Team. I love each of y'all. Thank you so much. But send them a request. We'll get you approved. No sweats. Get you in. And that's where all the good stuff is. Anyway, if you're a fan of real life, real crime, and you're missing that page, and you're just missing out on it. If you're already a crew member, scroll up to the top of the page on the crew, and by members, it has invite button. You hit invite all you people. Shit, if they join, great. If they don't, then that's cool too. But we need those numbers. We'll burn some ass. Courtney Coco's, this time's coming, I'm telling you. But I have a plan. I have a master plan, but I can't do it without the support of you lifers. All right, Miss Barbara Blunt's case. Things are opening back up. I've been in contact with the sheriff's office twice this week, and we're about to roll. Okay, so y'all, if you can, when you listen this week or whatever, share that Miss Barbara Blunt's episode again. We can get these COVID. I can't say COVID has totally shut down the tip lines because it hasn't, but it has slowed it down dramatically, although I got a new tip today in Miss Barbara's case. So we need to share that. I'll give them a Patreon members a thumb up. Share that. It's important. I think Sheriff Art is a fantastic guy. Those detectives working on this case, it's going to be awesome. Now that these corporations and stuff are opening back up, we're going to rock it. That's it. We got it. Crew members. And y'all, we're all that other social media bullshit. I don't know what they are. Tweeter, and Instagram, and all of the different Facebook pages, Real Life, Real Crime Lanyap page, the crew page, the regular Real Life, Real Crime page, whatever. I forget them all. I don't even go to I haven't been to my own regular Facebook page in forever. Don't send me a friend request to that page because I have 5,000. Facebook has it blocked up, so I had to create another public figure page. Send a request to that. I promise you I won't deny you. But y'all, all of y'all that send me the friend request every day, I clicked accept yes because evidently somebody almost every day defriends me on Facebook. But if I can accept you, I will. But you need to do it on that other page, and I don't know what it's at. Woody Overton, Real Life Real Crime, or something like that. I'm smiling at my Patreon members, y'all, on the video. Of course, now that this video will forever be up 2 days early on the Patreon page. Y'all, Patreon members that are getting to watch this now, the lifers won't get this until sometime late Saturday evening. So we're going to try to bring you more and more content. We have more stuff to bring you. We're going to bring you more and more content. Thank you again. Absolutely adore you. Everybody else, love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much for, look, all your little comments and stuff that y'all share and I read, or you message me, I message y'all back. It means the world to me, man. It really does, and I do appreciate you. I don't think there's a person out there that can say I haven't messaged them back or hit them back, and as long as I'm breathing and my fingers don't fall off. Sometimes at night, my real busy times between like 6 p.m. and midnight, right? Sometimes at night my thumbs are about to fall off, but anyway, I'll get back to you. I love all of you. Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Next time you hear me, it'll be season 5. We'll be rocking and rolling, and I'm probably forgetting some shit, but that's all right too. Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
Get ready, you're gonna do time. Real life, real crime.
Real Life, Real Crime is a true crime podcast brought to you weekly by Woody Overton, Jim Rathman, and executive producer Toby Tomplay.